I hate robbing banks.
And welcome to another episode of Reviews Without Remorse. I am Joe, and with me, as always, is my good buddy David. What's going on, partner?
Howdy doody. I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I am doing good, fighting a little bit of a cold, but otherwise, I am spectacular. The year is over. That means only one thing and one thing only. This is my top 10 top movies of the year. Okay. The best films of 2018, starting with number 10. Number 10, Searching.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm calling to report a missing person.
Okay, who is this regarding?
My daughter.
I'm the detective assigned to your daughter's case. I need to know how everything unfolded.
Understood.
I think we're gonna go late, like, all night.
1. After a study session, Margot didn't return home.
Wow, really?
Yes. Directed by Anish Chakante. Boy, did I mangle that.
Sincerely.
I resisted this one as hard as I could. I really did. I can't stand those sort of found footage movies or a film that's all going to take place through your laptop in some way, shape, or form, like Unfriended and all that kind of silly stuff. But I just heard so much good buzz about it. I said, well, let me give it a shot. And I have to tell you, I was really pulled into this. It was a solid mystery. Plus, I had to admit that the medium did lend itself to the story. I mean, this is what a father would do if he was scrambling around trying to find his teenage daughter. He'd be scrambling on her laptop, looking through her social media, etc. So it worked. I was really pretty enthralled. It got me early on, and I honestly just couldn't turn it away. I was even having trouble streaming it, and I ended up just breaking down and just renting it because I was so into what was happening. I wanted to see how this was going to play out. So yeah, like I said, no one is more surprised than me that this is actually on my top 10, but it is.
Nice start.
Yeah.
I like that.
There's going to be...
You subverted my expectations.
There's actually... I think for a change, I think you will actually be surprised by a lot of things on this list. There are some that I'm positive that will surprise you, and I know that you love to predict my top 10s as I go down the list. I will throw you a couple times in here, I'm pretty sure. Number 9, Isle of Dogs.
We get the idea. You're looking for your lost dog spots. Does anybody know it?
No.
I've lost all of my pride.
Directed by Wes Anderson and screenplay by Wes Anderson. Holy cow, this is Wes Anderson on steroids. I feel like Wes Anderson is he's already magical in the way he does his films. You know, his color, his characters, his dialogue, it's all brilliant. I kind of feel like he really took it up a notch by getting into animation. The animation here was so creative, so inventive. It was so charming, and I absolutely just loved every minute of it. And I honestly don't usually have animated movies on my top 10s. Number 8, another one that kind of came out of left field. Sorry to Bother You.
Man, I'm just out here surviving. And what I'm doing right now won't even matter.
Oh, baby, it will always matter.
Thought you said you fixed that.
Get a room! I got a room, mother...
Written and directed by Boots Riley, who is actually known for doing musical scores and not so much directing. But wow, was this interesting. Did you see this, by the way?
I know. I generally know what it is. Please don't spoil
I
anything. I understand that there's a cool little aspect to it that I don't want to know about.
It's absolutely just wild. And again, this was one of those where I didn't know what it was. I just heard it was good, so I kind of went in pretty blind. And it was hysterical. It was absolutely a satire. It was social commentary. But it just sort of pulled all the stops and just said, and it was like there was no boundaries, there was no nothing. So it starts out kind of weird, gets funkier, and then just goes full blown Looney Tunes. It was very, I mean, it really kind of kept me going, what? So I really enjoyed this one, and I definitely recommend it. Nice. Number 7, probably one that you will not be surprised at, and ironically, it's my other animated film. Into the SpiderVerse.
In your universe, there's only one Spider-Man. But there is another universe. It looks and sounds like yours, but it's not. My name's Miles Morales.
Hey, kid. You're like me.
How?
Of course.
Oh my God, was this thing, I mean, just incredibly, wildly creative. The screenplay was solid. The animation style was so much fun. It was definitely groundbreaking. You know, I mean, to the point where you almost kind of had to sort of rethink how you see animation and sort of adjust to it. But it was wildly successful. And I mean, and what a great way to bring some classic Spider-Man characters to the screen. I mean, this was great. It just sort of pulled out all the stops, and we saw characters that I would have guessed that I would have seen on the big screen at all. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Number 6, Upgrade.
I need your permission to operate independently.
Permission granted!
Thank you.
Written and directed by Lee Wannell,
Wow.
who is also known more for acting and writing than for actually directing. But wow, is that a great movie!
You're talking about the movie that I made fun of with the Venom trailer?
Yes. Right, when this trailer first came out, we thought this is going to be Venom, right? This looks like Venom. This is basically what Venom wished it was. This thing was tremendous. This thing, again, pulls out all the stops. I've heard it referred to as body horror in some. I would not say that. I would just say that this is the kind of movie where you have very realistic violence, and if this sort of a story played out this way, yeah, it would get graphic. It would get pretty ugly at times. But boy, was it! I mean, the story was spot on. There was nothing that I second guessed or doubted. It made perfect sense. Stylish and just very inventive and creative. The action scenes in this are amazing, and the guy who's doing it is also amazing. I would almost have to wonder if some of that was done using some sort of a CGI effect, because, and again, I don't want to ruin anything, but you have sort of well, you can tell in the trailer. The trailer basically lets you know that this is sort of an unwilling protagonist whose body is doing things. So the fact that this guy, his body can do one thing, yet his face says something completely different. Either this guy is wildly talented, or they must have maybe employed some sort of a CGI to sort of blend together to get this effect. But the final product is spectacular. I really enjoyed the hell out of it. Number 5, finally, something that will not surprise you. Creed 2.
You got everything to lose. This guy's got nothing to lose.
I ain't got a choice.
That's the same thing your father said, and he died right here in my hands. Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
But you don't think I could beat him?
Wait, actually, I am surprised. Why is that not up?
Creed 2, my friend, directed by Stephen Cable Jr., written by Jewel Taylor and Sylvester Stallone. Again, who would have guessed? How many? I mean, we reviewed this film, so I won't even get that deep into it. Who would have guessed that? This again, the last 3 Rocky films have been home runs each. Rocky Balboa, which I doubted before it came out. It proved me wrong. When they went for Creed, I was like, no, don't do it, leave well enough alone. Creed was a home run. And when they mentioned Creed 2, and when they said they were going to bring back Ivan Drago, I was like, no, this is it. They're finally going to... No, they did not drop the ball. What they gave us was absolutely stellar. Almost to the point, retcon is not the correct word, but boy, did they even shine a different light on Rocky 4 and sort of pull it all together into a symphony of a franchise. I could not believe they pulled this off.
I like to think of it as Creed 2, the Drago Redemption.
Very much so. Number 4.
Ooh, this is where it's going to get good.
Annihilation.
Your husband's here.
Let me see him.
He was extremely ill.
You have to tell me where he was, what he was doing.
It was his decision to go in. It's something they termed the Shimmer.
Written and directed by Alex Garland, based on the novel of the same name by Jeff Vandermeer. Holy cow. Every year, it seems like we're getting one really good, smart science fiction every year. From Ex Machina to Arrival. This year was Annihilation. And boy, was this thing the thinking man's science fiction film. The themes that it gets into in this film are so spectacular. Like, I listened to an excerpt of an interview with the director, and he was saying that the great thing about doing science fiction, he says, usually you have a story and you're trying to inject some themes into the story. He goes, when you're doing science fiction, your theme can just run wild. And he absolutely does it. When you look at this film, what it ends up being, I mean, it's a psychological thriller for once, but he gets into the mutation is a factor, and mutation can be beautiful, whether it's the flowers in the shape of people, or it could be hideous, like the half bear, half human. Wow, is that good? And the sort of subtext has a lot to do with the, and we talked about it, the self-defeatingness that we all sort of have. Everybody in this film is damaged in some way, and that factors in to how things play out. They explore that, and the final product again is just sort of. I was mesmerized throughout the whole film, and the look of it was beautiful. It was a fascinating film, and it's a lot of things on my list I sort of found to be very underrated, frankly, and I think this is a great example of that. Number 3, Avengers Infinity War.
The entire time I knew him, he only ever had one goal. To wipe out half the universe. If he gets all the Infinity Stones, he can do it with the snap of his fingers. Just like that.
Tell me his name again.
Thanos.
Directed by Anthony Joe Russo, written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, with an ensemble cast. This is a culmination of years and years of work, and the final product is an absolute masterpiece. I remember when I first saw it, I stumbled, and I wasn't sure how to grade it, because again, this is, it tricks you. I mean, again, I'm expecting an Avengers story, and if you look at it as an Avengers story, which it's called, boy, does that ending suck. When you sort of realize that they've sort of put one over on you, and this is essentially Thanos' story, then suddenly it's like, well, that's a different animal. And this thing really was pretty brilliant. When you see the other films trying desperately to put together something to compete with this or to compare with it, I mean, again, this one makes everyone else look like rank amateurs. This thing was absolutely spectacular. It's just amazing that this franchise can keep going at the level that it's going. Number 2, Mission Impossible Fallout.
You had a terrible choice to make in Berlin. One life over millions. And now the world is at risk.
This is the CIA's mission. If he had held on to the plutonium, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
His team would be dead.
Yes, they would. That's the job.
Written and directed by Christopher McQuarrie. Wow, this has reset the bar as far as action films go. Action films are really going to have to take a good hard look at this film and say, wow, they've really brought it up a notch, and that's the bar. They've raised the bar. I absolutely loved it, and it's kind of amazing how this franchise has been, as far as I'm concerned, incredibly it's been amazingly consistent. The first 1 and 2 were good. You know, they weren't spectacular. And then they keep getting better and better and better. So, I mean, the quality of these films now, it's like when I went to see this, I honestly expected a spectacular film, and I think my expectations were exceeded. So I really have to hand it to these guys, and Christopher McQuarrie is a guy that I think people should watch.
Well, out of the gate, McQuarrie hit it out of the park with The Usual Suspects. That was his first screenplay. So the guy always had it, but it seems like he works better solo.
Completely. Which means it's time for number one, our number one best film of the year. Number one,
okay, hit me.
Hereditary.
Come on, Peter. Let's just do it.
It's heartening to see so many strange new faces here today. I know my mom would be very touched and probably a little suspicious.
Written and directed by Ari Aster.
Wow!
Yes. His directorial debut, no less. Yeah.
Dude,
listen, I'm telling...
That's why you put it on the calendar.
Right, the secret's out. Listen, it's funny. The last year we had, it was a similar situation. There was a really good horror movie and that everyone was getting excited about, and there was a great horror movie that nobody was talking about. And I feel like this year is very similar, where you have everyone talking about A Quiet Place, which was very good, a very original concept, executed very competently. This one is a masterpiece. This one harkens back to films like The Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby. It's got little hints of The Babadook in it, and The Shining. I mean, if these are movies that you like, these great classic slow burn horror movies, then you absolutely positively have to watch this film. It blew me away when I saw it, and honestly, I kind of felt like nothing has sort of knocked it off its perch since. And this company, by the way, the A24, it's become the answer to the other schlock horror crap that comes out. They had The Witch was last year, was amazing. They had It Comes at Night, which was another one that was on my top 10 list. I thought that was terrific. And
Mine
this
too.
one, I honestly, it blew me away. I think it was the only film this year that I called my brother and I said, "Have you seen this yet? See it now, because it is that good." I really think it's masterful how they did this. Everything, it was just so well done. And this actually, I've seen this on people's. I saw it on at least one bottom list. No. Sorry, this is a spectacular piece of work. And I highly recommend people check it out. When you see it, try to forget all the hype that I'm giving it, and just take it for what it is. But honestly, you will watch it and then you'll look back on it and go, "Oh yeah." I mean, it's almost got a Sixth Sense kind of a vibe when you can go back and pick apart things that happened and now things make a lot more sense. It's the kind of smart horror film that we don't see a lot of, and this was really blew me away. And again, I'm not even into horror movies because there's not enough good ones, but this one was honestly spectacular. I think as a directorial debut from Ari Aster, holy cow! So I was just blown away, and I really think it was the best film this year.
I am impressed by that list.
Thank you, sir.
Bravo. That is great. And now I have to watch Hereditary. I was planning on it anyway. It's on my list of the movies I still have to catch up on. I was actually going to watch it tomorrow night. I think I'll watch it
Dude, check it
tonight.
out. If you have the night to yourself, I definitely recommend it. But we're not done yet. My stink bombs are coming out in a couple of days, so stick around, subscribe to the channel so you can see my worst of 2018. Plus, Dave gets his turn next week. Dave's top 10 for 2018, plus his stink bombs will be out next week. If you like what you saw, try out the longer version. We do an hour-long podcast. We flesh out these ideas a little bit more. Also, you can check out our best of 2017. If you like this one, the 2017 was pretty cool too. Thank you for bearing with my cold. Please subscribe, and I'll see you here next week.